All right, today we have a 23 Polaris XPedition with the 4 doors, crew cab or whatever model level it is. We're doing a kit on it. So our kit will come with the rear harness, the lever with our proprietary CNC laser cut and bent bracket. Got our turn signal controller, horn, the front harness, and then for the front, your choice of one large, 1¼ inch amber, 2 small 3/4, 3 small 3/4, or smoked. And then for the side, you can get one large of these, a small one of these, or another smoked. And we have the optional lighted license plate bracket. It's thick aluminum powder coated, and it plugs right into our rear harness here. This customer elected to provide his own horn and his own fancy lights, so we don't need any of those. But we're going to start running the rear harness, and then we'll get up in the dash to do the module and the lever, and we'll get the front lights all mounted, then we'll do license plate last. Our rear harness plugs right into this connector. Reach your hand in there. You can unplug it. The side that goes to the taillights is attached to the frame, so just leave that there. It's easier to get at everything. Pop this up. See the connector right here. So we'll plug into here in line, and then we'll route our harness up to the front and go under the skid plate and get all that done. All right, so the easiest way to run the rear harness is to take the skid plate off. This one being a 4-door. It's got 2 sections of skid plates. There's a whole bunch of 10mm bolts with the cool, I think it's zinc plated washer. So we'll pop these off, and then the harness is easy to run underneath alongside the factory one. And in addition to the 17 bolts along the edge, there are several Torx heads, and they snuck, where did it go? They snuck one in the middle here. Those are T40 Torx bits. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on each end and one in the middle. Maybe another one. We shall see. So up here behind the front tires, we have 2 more Torx bolts on either side. I believe that is the rest of what we need to get the skid plate off the bottom. All right, we have all our bolts for our skid plate out. They have these tucked up underneath these lips. You got to pull out in a second. And make sure you don't forget a bolt. There's the front skid plate. And the back. Oh! And another sneaky Torx bolt. So there's 2 that hold up in the middle. One goes between the front and rear to hold the middle to hold it together, and there goes between the middle and the rear. So these are off, and we will get them out of the way and start running the harness. So what we're going to do now, skid plate's off. We're going to plug into our harness down there, and we will follow the factory harness. Tucks under this air duct here, and then it'll drop down here. Kind of hard to see without getting your head in there. Yes, you can see where it comes down in this Y back up here those white pieces of tape that mark the zip ties, and then we'll run it along the top, this little plastic channel, keeping away from your drive shaft, because the last thing you want to do is have your wire harness caught in your drive shaft. Keep running up here past the battery. We'll follow it up there to the front. And what you'll want to do is section by section run the harness. You just weave this connector through where you want it and then pull it through. We use this nice custom jacketed cable we had manufactured for us. So it's really easy to pull because there's no corrugation or anything to get caught or anything. Just once you get past the connector, you're home free. So now that we got it past there, we'll tuck it down here. Get up around the tire. And hopefully keep feeding it until we see it come through here, and then we'll yank it down. I managed to get our harness over here, and we'll keep running it along the factory harness. Basically have the connector lead the way. Come out up here. And we'll yank it through here because then we'll worry about feeding it up the firewall next. So I'll set our nice cable. Slides real nice as long as you don't have it wrapped around the tire or something stupid. We like doing that. Now we have our harness out here. Next job is to run it up front. Get the hood open on these. You gotta take your grill off. Hopefully that's easy. And you have these rubber latches. And the whole hood comes off like that. So set it in our skid plate where it's safe. And then I'm getting the harness up here. You can see my hand down here. So we gotta get it up this way so we can go in through there. So our goal is to get the harness up through here. And we'll run it along this, shove it in there, and then it'll meet our module in the dash. It's a little tricky getting around all this junk down here, but you want to go. Let's follow this corrugated battery cable tube. And we'll shove it up there, right through that grommet. Oh, don't get around the shock. There, so our harness is now running from the rear. I'm a little OCD, so I like to tuck it behind everything. It's tucked back here. Now this will feed into the dash, which we have to access next. So our rear harness is run. We'll get down there, we'll do some wire ties, zip ties, whatever you want to call them. Put our skid plates back on, and that's it for the rear. Next is the fun task of getting into your dash. These things have really nice interiors. Everything fits really good. But that makes taking them apart a little bit more work than previous models of Polarises. Some of them you can just pop out a center panel or whatever, and there's no bolts. You just have some pop rivets, but not this thing. So for the front dash, first we got to deal with the windshield. We'll pop it open. We got to take this bracket off. You know, take the side covers off that go behind the gas strut.
This is not special, right? All right.
All right, so we got to pop these quick rivets out and these bolts and all these Torx bolts. Now get the dash cover off, and then we need to get the whole dash off to be able to get back in here and deal with the harnesses that we're going to send through the grommets. So we're going to do this once or more than once. Get yourself a set of this. It's these tools, they pop the pop rivets out real easy. We got a set on Amazon. Definitely worth it. Torque picks up here T25. So there's 5 of those, and there's 2. Should I say there's 3 10 millimeter head bolts that hold the windshield latch in place. All right, so now that we got them out, the center dash piece simply pops right out. It's not even snapped in yet. Now we need to get the speaker covers off, and we'll get the side piece first. Make sure we don't need the speaker covers off. We'll get these side pieces off first. So we'll have to pop the gas strut off the hood, or the windshield. You'll definitely want something to hold that up. I just prop the strut on the dash. So once you pop the strut off, you gotta get this stud out of the way. A deep well 11 millimeter socket will do the trick, or 7/16. Got the stud and the washer. Put that here. Make sure the windshield doesn't close. And there's 2 Torx bolts here. T25. There's 2 T25 Torxes. So the side cover pops off. Put your stud back in, just hand thread it in a couple threads. Now do the other side. Take the Torx bits out first this time. Pop this clip out of the way. For this, you just put a screwdriver behind it and gently move it down. For some reason I can't get my socket on there. And it's hitting the speaker cover. We got it off, put it back in now that the cover's out of the way. Now those are gone, we'll focus on getting all the pop rivets out. There's 2 here when you open up the glove box. Try to keep track of those. Put them in a cup holder. So all 4 air vent covers need to come off next. A little kit from Amazon came with these plastic pry bars. Try to get up behind there. Gently pop them out. Once you get them partly loose, you can get your fingers in there. Just pull. And you probably heard that clip go flying down to the bottom. So these use these white clips. They're nice for installing. They suck to take apart. So this one stayed on the piece. These two did not. One of them fell on the floor. And of course it's broken. So that's cute. So we'll snap that back in there. And then the other one stayed down in there. We'll pop that out during reassembly. We gotta do that to all four of them. They're definitely not made to take anything apart nicely with these terrible plastic clips. And if any of you have a secret to take them off, I'm all ears. Even trying to be nice to it. One stayed in, one went flying, and one stayed on the piece. Yep, that one broke too. They're just cheap. I don't think I've met anybody that likes those clips. The reason we have to take them off is because the guy with the CAD file thought it'd be a great way to hide these push pins, which is not wrong, but getting in your dash is a lot more fun because they wanted to hide these. We'll pop these two push rivets out. Now you can see it's getting looser. We still have a surprise for us down here, which we'll get to after we do the passenger side. Close that. Now that we've done the driver's side, we'll do the passenger side. Well, all three of them stayed on the dash that time. Look at that. 2 for 3. I'll take it. Push pin. Push pin. The dash is mostly off. It's everything except for back in here they had one. So they put the dash together, and then they put all this crap on the side, covering up one push pin. So like I said, they did a good job of making it real nice fitment interior and looking nice, but for all the people that modify them, they make it a pain in the butt to get to anything. I gotta take this bolt out. That's a T40. Now that's that out of the way, get a little more room in here. You can't see it. It's hard to see because it's like they blocked it so you can't get in there, but right back there is a little push pin. So we're going to flip this thing over. See, now you can see it. I'll wiggle it out. We gotta go gentle because I don't want it to go flying because I don't know where the bottom of this ravine is. That's what success looks like right there. Later on, putting it in is fun, but I guarantee 95% of you are going to be like, nope. I was short one anyways, I lost it. And that's the one I'm choosing to leave out. So I'll do the same thing here. Pop this bolt out. You get that fun guy out. And this dash piece will come off. Well, at least it fell after I got it out. Now the dash will lift up, but don't go too crazy. Oh, fuck, I forgot this part. So now you got all that out. We'll have to pop these out. The dash hits them. I felt like I'd probably take the windshield off, but it's got wipers and other crap on it. So yeah, careful when you're yanking the dash out. Your speaker's plugged in. So pop the dash up high enough to get windshield pin pushed back in enough to get that on. Here's the other clip earlier that we popped off, or at least out of the way. On this side, we can finagle out, but again, don't forget your speaker plug. See, it's lift up on this clip here, pops out. So now we have access to the back of the gauge cluster, bottom of the steering column. These go in there. There's crap in the way, but you can get at it. Those grommets will come out underneath here. There's some stuff in the way, but you can get in there. Some switches that got tied off or something or other. But next we'll mount our steering column bracket to our, wire up the indicators in the cluster, put our module in there, and then run the front harness up and get the rear harness plugged in. Now we can test it. Everything should work. And then for this install, I will have to do a couple mods to do his front lights, because the long ones he wants by the headlight have 2 circuits in them. Our kits only come with wires for the 1 circuit, just for the ambers. So I gotta get a little creative on that. And then I'm gonna put a relay on his horn. So our kits come with a horn that only draws about 1.5 amps, and anything aftermarket, I recommend a relay. Just to be on the safe side. I don't want to burn anything up. Probably won't, but now you can't if you have a relay. With the pulse bar being right there, it's easy to wire up a relay that is triggered by the horn button in our kit. Alright, now we're going to mount our lever. It uses these 2 bolts here. On the bottom, there's an unused hole that we chose to make a used hole. First, gotta get these top 2 off. The T25. Oh, thank the Lord. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Alright, so these are this long. They go into a nut that is captive in the steering column. But if you see that red on there, they put red Loctite on them. I don't know why. It's a brilliant idea, because since the nut is being held captive in a plastic steering column, the nut likes to spin instead of the bolt coming out. So the only way we found to do this, it sucks, but force it through the plastic, because our bracket covers that anyways. Get the wire out of the way and holds it down. So because I'll show you, there's no getting into it on that side. Even there's no getting into it on this side. Even with the cover off, you can't get in there. Nor this side. So you can see they just have the nut in there, and ours spins. So we'll shove a screwdriver in there to wedge the bolt or the nut, and we'll take this bolt out. You can't even get the steering column part because they got these special new bolts. There's no head on this side. So what they do is they put them in. There's a head on this side, and when they torque them, the bolt snaps off to make sure that, you know, guys like us aren't in there messing around. The second expedition we've done. The first one was to develop the kit, and ran into this exact problem. Last time it was this nut. This time it was this one. So I was excited when the first one came free, but jumped the gun a little bit there because, of course, this happened. There we go. When this happens to you, don't worry. It's probably going to happen. So we just wedged a small screwdriver in there and got the bolt out. So now we're good to go. And surprisingly, now it'll hold when we put the bolt back in later. And don't use red Loctite because clearly they didn't want anybody in here, but we're not doing anything except for using those 2 bolts to mount the lever to. Now we can actually put our column cover back on with an enlarged hole. First we'll tuck this into the dash. This part's got a hook underneath the cover. And then for the top, we're gonna get 2 holes started, 2 bolts started. See, the hole's nice. Now we gotta do on the bottom. All right, so our bolt hole's right here. And put a bolt through it. Oops, cover's in the way of this washer. Washer inside there. So 7/16 or 11mm wrench. Tighten that down. These are the wrench. You got the bottom one tight. Now we can tighten these top ones. Like I said, that nut that was spinning before isn't going to be a problem now. Here. Our column lever's on. Doesn't interfere with the bracket or headlight switch or anything. Tweak it a little bit. Get some alignment on your lever. Perfect. So now we'll get this cable, shove it in here, route it up here. Our mod is going to go in the dash. We're going to put our front harness in. So we have 1 lead, plugs into our module. We got 1 lead that's got 2 wires for a horn. We got 2 more leads that go to your front left and your front right lights. They're labeled so you don't get them backwards. Let's tuck those off to the side for now. Worry about routing them later, but first, I want to get everything in the dash. So this top hole is easier to get into because it's empty and goes above. There's air ducts in there. It's easier to get by there. We'll actually shove 3 harness in there too. With any luck, when we go inside the car, I'll be able to get my hands on them reasonably easily up there. Well, the easiest way to get to the other side of these, definitely not up in here. I don't think my toddlers have hands that could fit in there. But luckily, if you go straight up there with your hand, can't see it in here. But clearly, we got both of our plugs right there. Put this data link back in. We messed with that earlier. So those are there. We will plug our module in. Here's our module. It's dirty. So here's our module. It's our proprietary setup. There's a circuit board in there, and then we can configure it with our different jacketed cables how we want. This one's set up for anything that's not a CF Moto or an ATV, so any Polaris, Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha, Can-Am, Articat tracker, probably more we haven't gotten to yet. We mold them in-house. We have an overmold machine that's got a set of molds in it. And then we block it off with custom-made shutoffs, which are just rivet. Anyways, let's get this thing back installed. Sidetrack there. So these all plug right in. Rear harness, front harness, dash indicators, and to your lever. So we'll get those three plugged in, and then we'll do the dash indicators, test everything out, and then we'll do the custom stuff that this customer wanted done to his unit. Set this here, you can watch me struggle the back of my head as I pitch and more while my back hurts from leaning. Front harness, rear harness, then we'll shove. The steering column one down here. There we go. So yeah, this one will put the module back up here. We get to our dash indicators. Forgot at the beginning of the video, but our kits come with this harness, which plugs into the module, and the wires go in the back of the dash. Pretty easy. In theory. So you get the dash indicators working. Yeah, get this thing unplugged. In theory, it's easy. There we go. So yeah, like push it in, squeeze real tight on this clip. You can see it doesn't give much, but it pops out. All we need is a flathead screwdriver. Pop this back shell open. And on either side, the slots, just push in gently on the white clip. This clear gray smoke black piece will come off, don't lose that. So our harness says pin 6 and pin 7 on it. Pin 6 and 7 are these last two openings in the top. Luckily they're all numbered. And usually there's cavity plugs in here. These little blue guys. But they must have known I was coming today, because they left them out. So yellow goes in pin 7, which is next to the other yellow. There's now 3 yellows in here. There's one for the can, one for the blinker. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't matter. So you want to push the pins in, but not too far. If they go in too far, those little fingers back, push them in. So you want them all even. This only goes on one way, so you can't easily screw it up. It's possible, I'm sure. This one pin's not lined up. There you go. If it's right, it'll go right in. Tuck the harness, the factory one. Flip it. Plug that in. We'll route this down with the cable for the lever. Plug it in the module. That's done. Now what we have left is the front lights. As I showed before, we have many options. It's really a preference. The smoke black one looks pretty good on the side, or it fits right here. You can put it here. You can do a big one here. Possibly there. And you're checking to see where you want to put stuff. You want to feel behind it. Right here is safe. For front light options, we have our 3/4 inch by 4 inch 6 LED smoke light. These look real good on black or camo. They're thin profiles, so you can fit them there. Fit them up here if you want. Put one here, whatever you want to do. Fit here. Fit down here. Get crazy and put it like that if you want, whatever you want to do. We have our large 1 1/4 inch round takes a 3/4 inch hole, the grommet snaps into it, holds it in place. So you go here, back here if you want. Our harness has enough split to go 27-ish inches apart on here, plus you get another 4 from this, so you could one back here and one up here. Put one in here. Now pay in mind when you're planning where to put your lights, you want to make sure there's nothing behind it. So it's like, oh, here's a cool spot. Well, it's behind it. Luckily nothing. There's a rib here and another rib here. So you go there. You can drill through the ribs if you want. It's not the end of the world. But you don't want to go right here because mounting bracket for the head bolts there. So pay in mind that when you're planning on where to put your holes or where you want, what kind you want to order, you want to put one here, it's safe because right behind this there is nothing. So just want to kind of feel behind where you're at to make sure you're safe. You know, up here, you can't feel back here, but you can up here. And we'll pop these bolts off to get some more room in a minute. But up here there's nothing. Down in here there's nothing this whole way, so you can do that. So that's the large round. You got the small rounds. You can do 2 or 3. We would just send them with the 2-way splitter or a 3-way splitter to put 3 on one connector on the headlight. Our front harness has 2 leads on it, one for the side marker, one for the front, and then we just split off of it. Once you get on our website, when we put this on there, after we get some kits built, you get to pick your front lights. You want 2 of these, 3 of these, 1 of these, or 1 of these. And for your side marker, you can pick 1 of these, 1 of these, or 1 of these, and put it however you want. This customer chose not to do any of that, but for the test purposes, we will plug in one of every option. So we'll do our 3-way splitter with these 3 lights. You see, even with the splitter being short like that, you could spread these out pretty far if you wanted to. We have our 2-way splitter. So ours are set up to be on as running lights. So as you can see, you can have 3 of them side by side, 2 side by side. This big one, this little smoke guy, of course. Flash. So, now you know everything's good, we will move on to this customer's request. This customer brought these little guys up. He wanted one tucked up in here. It'll be pretty hidden, but it'll be bright when it turns on. I'll have to feed the harness up through there. I do have to put our connector on. If you ever want to run your own LED lights, as long as they're like this one where it's on or off, doesn't have any built-in flashing, any built-in, what do they call that? Or it flashes white and the amber, depending on what you do. Those won't work direct with our kit. We can make stuff work for them, which we're gonna have to do today on those other ones. But these, we can just put a connector on, plug in. So I will snip this down. The connectors we use, they're the Deutsch Mini series, whether it's a DTM or an ATM from Amphenol, or you can get a Chinese knockoff off eBay or something, but this is a 2-pin Deutsch connector. Pins the part numbers on the connector, so you can find the mate to it and you can add your own lights or whatever you want to do. Alright, these are the lights he provided. Trimmed the wires down, added some loom from one of our connectors. So now the lights simply just plug in. So with our harnesses, the white is ground and the black is power because the LEDs we use like the Euro colors or the Asian colors or whatever. So when you put your lights on, if they have red and black, the blacks will not line up. That's just how it works. Everybody does a different color scheme. And life is interesting that way. So that's what he wants. Is that tucked up in there? So we'll get this connector routed up under this cover. Hopefully it's not too hard to get in there. Doesn't look like it. We'll put them on both sides and we will tackle the next light, which is a switchback. That's what I was trying to think of earlier. The switchback LEDs where it'll be white and it'll kick off, turn amber, and then it'll be back to white when you're done with your turn signals. These are the strobing pattern. So I'll have to be a little creative with how we do our blinker kit because our module does the flashing. And it does have a 45-second shutoff, so if you leave your blinker on automatically after 45 seconds, it quits blinking until you reset the lever. So we're going to pop these two bolts out. It's cute because one looks like a T40, one's a T25. So pop this up. Don't need it to take it all the way off. T25 up there. Maybe that was supposed to be T30. That's a little sloppy, so more likely T30. Yep. T30, T40. Not tight enough for T25 to slip at that point. Got those up. There's probably, there we go. It's got a tab that clips in here so you can push off to the side. So does that give us enough room for, yep, just enough. So, here we go. There's a clip right here that you can push out on the inside. Now I have more than enough room for the connector and wire to pass through this light. So I'm able to probably have one shot at getting this in there nicely. All right. Put this up in here. Just clears that clip. Yep. So now we'll run the front harness. We'll tuck it underneath this antenna box. No wiring for it. It tucks underneath the, must be a cabin air filter. Can't imagine. I guess maybe it's an air filter for your engine, but I think it's probably a cabin air filter. So now we'll plug this in under here. Do the same on this side. Stick it out. Normally with our kit, you would just drill your holes, shove your lights in, and plug them in. But you can do whatever you want, really. So this pops out like this gently. Front harness will route the battery cable again. Follow this factory stuff over here. There we go. That's plugged in. Right. Not gonna lie, that actually looks pretty slick. I do like that. The nice thing is I always recommend getting some sort of side marker on it. That's why we offer an option of 2 leads on our front. That way, if you are turning right, even from way back here, besides the taillight flash, and you can see that this vehicle intends to turn right. So it looks pretty good. And of course on this side, same thing, except it's a running light. So it almost looks like these reflectors, except that one will flash. Well, for this light, clearly these things have a time delay where the lights stay on for 10-15 seconds and you shut off the key. You want these tucked up in here, right above the headlight. You'll have to go away to the connector through here up in here. Nice fitting stuff. Usually these things have such ill fitment that you can shove a finger through a gap that shouldn't have a gap. So have to back the headlights out. Some Torx bolts up in there. All this is non-standard stuff with our kit, so like I said, with our kit you would have just drilled some holes, added the lights, and you could put your vehicle back together and you would be done. Back it off far enough where it can get anchored. There's wire up in here. Before I commit to taping it in here, make sure it looks good and you can actually see it. Headlight back where it was. Having the advantage of being the wire harness manufacturer, all these kits we manufacture in-house. All the harnesses, we solder the circuit boards, we mold the modules, I design it all. So the advantage of being able to figure things out, I just grabbed a pulse pigtail. Off the shelf, because the running lights use a different wire than the turn signals. So we need the running lights to be on with ignition, which is easiest to get from the pulse bar. We got ground, and then we got this has to come from our kit. I'm not sure if I need to have it on the flashing circuit like the front lights, which I would tie into the dash indicators, or if it's got a built-in timer in it or whatever that flashes with constant power, then I would have to tie it right into the lever itself. So we have 2 different ways to do a T-harness to plug into either the dash indicators or the go right off the lever. Now what I'm just doing is I'm tying the ground to the ground. I got battery power. Okay. So that's the running light. That's pretty good. Alright. So it's got the pulsing built into it. So I have to tie this in right off of our switch. I can't have our module flicker on me. Oh yeah. People light comes back on. Alright, so now we know that that works, that looks good. We'll mount them both. I will add a connector to it, and then I will make a harness that feeds the power from the power tap, and runs up. We'll just tie into the lever itself so that when the lever's on, it flashes, and we don't have to worry about our module controlling it. And then while I'm at it, I will add a relay circuit for his horn, and we'll get the horn done. And then all we have left is some buzzer circuit that he wants added, which will just make another little T-harness that'll plug into our dash indicators. So I'm gonna get these mounted, get everything buttoned up. We'll throw 2 Deutsch connectors on here, make a little harness from here. Oh shit, probably blue fuse. Probably not. It's 40 amp fuse feeding this guy. A J case fuse here, so I guess the easy way to tell would be to it's sparking again. Didn't pop the fuse. So we got his front lights mounted and wired. We had to make a harness that tied into the pulse bar and then back to the lever, and it ran to each light. We also added a fuse and a relay for the horn. So it's actually pretty slick. We'll get the front and the side in here. And he's got a beeper in here so you can hear it. But if you don't want to, there's a switch. You can turn that crap off. And then the horn. Pretty juicy horn. And we're getting a dash put back in here. And one little trick here. This might not line up. So you want to make sure this gap lines up. And actually this bolt helps line up your whole dash. So I want to make sure you put it back where right up here. Closer. Right here. This lines up. So right now it's kind of off kilter. You push it up and then this will all come together once you bolt all this together. So lift up here when you're putting these bolts back in, otherwise it's all your quick certs and our fun little white clips on the vents, our cover up here, and we're done here. We got to put the skid plates back on and we'll do our license plate bracket last. And last but not least, we have our lighted license plate bracket. That's just a prototype bracket for holding it to this machine. It fits in a factory bolt. Harness follows the factory spot, plugs into our rear harness. And, of course, nice and bright and dirty.